Hi Sam, good to see you after such a long time.
So thank you, Kat. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Now I have launched a YouTube channel and there I have discussed about Ukraine and Russia. I really wanted your view because you are in forefront of these things. You have been studying all these things for a number of years now, and you yourself has been a mechanized soldier leading a large force of mechanized forces. So I really wanted to know how this war is going to take place. What is happening in Ukraine?
So let me try to keep it simple. Okay, I mean, we are both career soldiers, so I think we'll use some of our common military knowledge also, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So firstly, Russian special operations, as Mr. Putin called it, is not progressing as per script.
Okay.
Their land offensive on the capital Kyiv, which is the center of gravity, and Kharkiv, which is the second largest city in the northeast, that is come to a grinding halt almost. Now what's happening is they're trying to bypass Kharkiv and more of eastwards or southeastwards, they're trying to link up with the Donbas region, which, as you know, the republics of Luhansk and Donetsk, which has been a breakaway republics. Okay. Now some operational reserves may be flown in from Moscow or moved in from Moscow to reinforce success. As you know, they don't reinforce failures, they reinforce success. Mm-hmm. Now the season is also changing. The water table in Ukraine area is very, very high. So when it's peak winter, it's like good country for tanks to move. But now mud season is setting in, snow is melting. So you'll have many of these destroyed armored vehicles, bogged down vehicles. They are kind of going to sink in. Recovery is going to be difficult. The progress is going to be.
You mean to say the logistics is going to be a problem?
Oh yeah, quartermaster can win or lose a war.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a very old dictum. So let's move to the south. What's happening in the south? You have seen this humanitarian tragedy unfolding in the city of Mariupol. The city has almost been facing heavy bombardment all through the campaign, and about 90% of the city may have been just destroyed. And so effectively what they're trying to do from the Crimean Republic, which was captured by Russia in 2014, they are trying to establish a land bridge via Mariupol with the Donbas region. So from north, from Kharkiv, they're trying to build connectivity, and then from south, they're building a connectivity from Mariupol. So land bridge is effectively established.
So basically what you mean to say is the areas which were already with Russians now is being extended eastwards.
Yeah, so what's happened is that the eastern
and they want to have the shoreline of Black Sea, maximum shoreline of Black Sea under their control. And Mariupol is a key area.
Okay. So
now here I'd like to just ask you, can we discuss some more military aspects, fighting in built-up areas?
Oh, Kat, I think you're a master at it.
No, I would like everybody to gain out of your knowledge.
Yeah,
and could you use the whiteboard piece?
Whiteboard.
Try and tell how an isolation takes place.
And just try to use it. So I hope this is visible. I'll just try to. So fighting in built-up area is very, very complex, Kat. So you have this built-up area, a lot of buildings. It has to be cleared building by building, street by street. So how defender always has a huge advantage. So what happens is, like if you heard Mr. Putin's comments yesterday, he said that in captured cities, the top floors are being occupied by the defenders, and they are moving their weapons there, they are moving their snipers there, and people are being moved to the ground floor. So if you are a defender and if you are on height, it dominates. Now what happens is typically, let's say Russian forces are advancing from here. So they try to, it happens in three phases. The first phase is called isolation. So they form a ring around it. So they try to isolate. So there are routes coming into this place, into the city. They try to isolate the routes. So that is called, phase one is called isolation. And then thereafter, the tanks try to close in and the mechanized columns try to close in. This phase is called investment. So isolation is the first phase, then you have investment, and then is the final phase, which is reduction, which you have to clear street by street, building by building. That's a dirty war, and you have to numerical superiority of 10 is to 1, 12 is to 1. So people are still, I would say, in Kharkiv or in Kyiv, they're still in isolation phase, I would say. And sometimes isolation is also used for bypassing the city. For example, in Kharkiv, if they don't meet with much success, they would just like to bypass and eastwards connect with the Donbas region.
Okay.
So I hope I have just tried to simplify.
Yeah, very right. Now, I just wanted to ask you, is the stage of isolation and investment and reduction, are they separate stages or they overlap?
I think that there is some amount of overlap. So when isolation is happening, there is punitive bombardment happening on the city, something may be happening from the helicopters, and they continuously. So you can't say that isolation has ended and investment has started. So there is some amount of.
Very, very relevant. Now,
I think can we sit down and
why not?
continue the conversation? So I think it's getting interesting. I just wanted to cover one part which was that cat in the south. So this. So third, I think the next big objective for Russia is going to be the port city of Odessa. Now Odessa is the third largest city and it's the naval headquarters. Earlier they used to have at Sevastopol, but once Crimea was captured, the naval headquarters moved to Odessa. It's a city of 1.5 million people. It almost kind of, the city extends onto the sea and it's very well defended on the sea side. However, as a military strategist, we feel Odessa is more vulnerable on land, and you find that's where the Russian offensives are going towards Odessa, and you saw this barrage bombing at the city of Mykolaiv, okay, where more than 50, 60 or maybe up to 100 soldiers may have been killed. So there are Russian thrust lines moving on the north and some of them have been fiercely contested. In addition, one more thing is happening, that Russia is trying to spread the battlefield to the west. So there was some attack in the airfield near Lviv. You saw the use of hypersonic missiles from Kinzhal systems. Kinzhal means dagger.
Yeah, that's my next question. Basically, what are these new systems? How these are shaping up the battlefield, and what is the change in tactics of Russians with these new, systems which have come in? Especially two things which I want to point out is the UAVs in conjunction with the precision missiles. Okay. And hypersonic missiles which are being used by Russia.
So hypersonic missiles are something very advanced. They fly in 5x of speed of sound and very, very difficult to intercept. So I think this is one way of Mr. Putin trying to demonstrate the technological superiority of Russian weaponry, and this is something which anything in the arsenal of Ukraine probably can't intercept. The drones, as you know, have become very, very potent weapons. We saw first in Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, the pivotal role played by drones. And these are Turkish, not so expensive drones, which have been used very effectively against Russian tanks and tank harbors and gun positions. And similarly, Russians have also used it very, very effectively.
For identification.
Yeah, for identification. We saw one of the videos, if you saw, which was going viral on many of the globes. Yeah. Russians, if let's say a grad is firing, so they are not, the drone just tracks the grad, and then it sees when, they know that, these weapon systems, they shoot and scoot after going. So they continuously track that. And once that finally landed close to, I would say, a shopping mall, and that's where it was parked, that's the time Russians actually launched their missiles, and cruise missiles, and destroyed it. No, so that has itself caused.
Understood. So I just wanted to check back on what is the likely end state. Now, in my view, Russia is trying to create a pro-Russia eastern enclave east of Dnipro and capturing the coastline along Black Sea. Probably not Odessa. They wanted to leave some areas for Ukrainians. But rest of the coastline they want to capture. They want to establish a pro-Russian enclave east of Dnipro. The west of Dnipro they have not done much. However, they have been targeting the military infrastructure on the west to help their forces capture the eastern area. What do you think about it?
I think you're absolutely right. You said, good soldiers always study geography, because geography is a very important element of warfare, terrain analysis. So Dnipro River basically cuts the country into two, and Kyiv, as you know, is to the west of Dnipro River. And an attack on Kyiv was actually launched through Belarus. Okay, and balance of the attack has been through the Russian territories, including, on the north, from Russia and south from the captured Republic of Crimea. So that's where Russia basically wants to consolidate Crimea and probably extend a little bit depth to it, a defense in depth. It wants to establish a land bridge from Crimea via Mariupol, the port city of Mariupol, the besieged city, and to Donbas region, the breakaway republics. So it wants to consolidate its position, and one of their shart or one of their conditions for ceasefire is that they should recognize these pro-Russian entities, the Luhansk and Donetsk region in Donbas. Secondly, they should accept Russian sovereignty over Crimea. So these are also conditions. And as we move closer to ceasefire and as peace negotiations continue, we will see that Russia will try to capture maximum territory in Donbas, right up to Dnipro River, tie up with Crimea, also extend northwards, use new and more sophisticated weapons, also to demonstrate its technological superiority and to raise the morale of troops, expand operations westwards. So what that does is, that's also warning to NATO. Look, if you get the Javelin missiles and the Stinger missiles, which have been so effective, the Stinger anti-aircraft missiles and the Javelin anti-tank missiles, we are going to get you. Okay, so nobody is safe there. And if some foreigners are working, they will also be targeted. So Russia has said in as many words, these are legit targets. So they are going to intersect Western aids in both, which is lethal.
They are already doing it.
Yeah.
They are already doing that.
And finally they will continue the punitive attack on cities. So we are entering a battle of attrition. The maneuver warfare is nearly dead.
So, basically, if you see in Grozny also, Russians have been known to prolong the conflict. So really, one cannot say that their operations have actually come to a stalemate. This is the way Russians operate. They try and prolong the operations, tire the people out, make sure the civilian and the local populations come to the terms of Russians. And that is what they are trying at the moment. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I think it is pretty much as per the Russian playbook, and this is not the first, probably this is the fifth invasion which Putin has launched in his time, probably.
As also I see the mechanized forces, what we have learned, will always try and do the psychological paralysis in the initial stage. But every mechanized force is, known that if it doesn't happen, they should be ready to fight a prolonged war.
Kat, I can see the passion of a soldier coming out from you.
That's what we have become all the time.
So let's spread it a little bit more. Let's just for the viewers. So we are actually fighting in all 5 domains. So there is fighting in land domain. We talked about the thrust lines and how they have been fiercely resisted by the resistance forces. We've talked about the ocean front, the Crimean Peninsula, and how land bridge via Mariupol and also possible attack on Odessa, including encirclement on land. There is the aerial component because West has refused, NATO has refused to reinforce a no-fly zone. So that
has got a major effect.
Yeah, so that and there is also the hypersonic missiles and all. There is a fourth dimension.
I just wanted to interject and say one thing here. If you see, Russians are not using their aircrafts with the liberty which they are supposed to be, just because they know West has given good anti-aircraft systems to Ukrainians.
Stinger missiles.
Now, so Russians are very aware of this. They are actually, you cannot say that it is a full, air domination by Russians at the moment.
Yeah, air
superiority. Because they are using precision weapon systems to beat the tactics of.
Kat, I wanted to take you to a different dimension because land, sea, and air. This is for amateurs. Okay. I think there is much happening in cyber domain. There is much happening in terms of information warfare, misinformation. You find deepfakes of Zelensky, asking troops to surrender, which somehow Ukrainians are able to find out. Mm-hmm. There were fake calls from Ukraine to two British ministers. So there is the confidence with which Mr. Putin speaks or Mr. Zelensky speaks, or the versions come out. So if you look at the Western version and the Russian version, it is completely different. Mm-hmm. So essentially, we are having a full information warfare, a disinformation campaign, the cyber attacks which preceded the kinetic attacks. So it's being fought in all 4 dimensions. Even space was dragged into it. People are saying that Starlink satellites have been used and their facilities made available to Ukraine for facilitating drone attacks at night. So it's being fought in all dimensions.
So basically for the cyber warfare, my feeling is that what we had actually envisaged earlier, that cyber war is going to bring down the power plants, get down the electricity grid. That has not happened. What is happening is mostly the fake side. So this is something which is a totally different dimension. See, this is a kind of an all-out war. So, and the cyber warfare, what we were envisaging, is going to take place.
So, Kat, what happened is you can have cyber warfare in two things. If you remember, many years back, actually Russia attacked and brought some of the Ukrainian cities to a grinding halt. They caused complete paralysis of the administrative infrastructure and the basic amenities and facilities. But what's happening is, if you can achieve the same effect using kinetic weapons, why use cyber warfare? So cyber warfare was used, probably it will be used in future, and Mr. Biden, as you know, has warned American businesses to be prepared for Russian cyber attacks. So cyber is being used, but I think the bigger component is information and disinformation. War is all about morale. Cat, you know that morale is to 3, what material is to 1.
So I just wanted to bring out an interesting thing. I try and follow Russian news also the Western news, and both are totally different. So that is what information warfare is all about. What is being fed to you? No, this is in
perception is reality, Cat. Perception is reality.
Right.
So I think we can move towards the end of the war. How it will.
So basically, now in the end, I would like to ask you, what effect on businesses, in the world trade? What is the effect of this war, which is going to finally hit everyone or not hit?
So I think before that we can probably take up one issue which will take our discussions to a logical end. How does the war end?
Okay.
So I think there are a lot of people who are jumping into fray, from South Africa to Israel to Turkey. So I think Turkey has made some progress, and as per what has been released by BBC, I think the main conditions are essentially 6.
Okay.
First, they're saying that accept neutrality. So I think pretty much Ukrainians and Russians are on the same page as this. Neither NATO is going to invite them tomorrow to join Ukraine to join NATO tomorrow, nor are they going to join. So I think it is pretty much doable. So accept neutrality and do not join NATO. I think these are doable. Third is to disarm. So I think Russia is already, one of its stated aims is to disarm the military, and they are targeting military infrastructure so that it doesn't become a threat.
That is largely being achieved.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah. And because there's a lot of punitive strikes against military facilities and even civilian targets, and and it has led to, you would have seen 10 million, almost 1/4 of Ukraine is displaced, and 3 million has probably gone overseas. Mm-hmm. So there's talking about denazification. That's quite funny because Mr. Zelensky himself is Jewish, and he had 3 relatives.
What about the Azov brigade?
Yeah. So what happens is
neo-Nazi brigade.
Yeah. So it's fine. So firstly, there is a very small population. This is a very aberrant demand, but because a guy who lost 3 relatives to Holocaust. But I think he's going to quite agree. He's going to just condemn. He's going to condemn neo-Nazism in all forms, and it's a very small percentage. And if you find hardly anyone of them won elections and came to
Russia is going to use it in a big way
for
propaganda war.
I think the 2 sticky ones are going to be accept the status of Crimea and Donbas as pro-Russian entities and give up territory what has been lost in eastern Ukraine. So I think this will be very difficult for Zelensky either to accept or to sell to his people. Okay. So I think the war will end when every side basically has got some place. Yeah, Sun Tzu had said that
some face saving.
Yeah, Sun Tzu has said that when you fought the enemy, beaten the enemy, give him a golden bridge to retreat so that they can come back.
Okay.
So
there has to be face.
Yeah, so both sides can declare war. In Kharkiv war, you saw both sides declared victory. Mm-hmm. So you have to give something which Zelensky can take to his people and say declares victory, and Putin can also, a man with great ego, is going to say. So I think the last 2 shots are very, very tricky. The last 2 conditions, accepting Donbas and Crimea as pro-Russian entities and giving up territory which has been lost. So I think these are going to be. Now coming to your specific question, I think on economy you wanted to know. Now I think the direct impact on Ukrainian economy is visible, but I think the indirect impact on the world economy is going to be much worse. All the sectors. If you take food, the Russian and Ukrainians, they provide about 1/3 of all the wheat in the world. So the prices will go up. Oil is already on the boil. It went up to $139. It has retreated a little bit. Okay, the whole geopolitics of the world is being redefined. The power architecture, nickel, and many other precious metals. Russia is basically a great exporter. Russia, Ukraine, So typically the prices of nickel have gone up. So that will 50% of EV prices are batteries, and much of it is nickel cadmium. Those batteries are used. So similarly, the supply chains are already broken. COVID had already put spotlight on supply chains.
Yeah.
So those supply chains are already broken, and container is not available. Its shipping prices have skyrocketed. So all in all, inflation will rise. Europe's GDP is already Europe is already going to hit towards stagflation. So again, yeah, it's still
So
unfolding.
basically, you mean to say that it's a little difficult days for normal people?
Yes, I think US will be less impacted.
Will it have an effect on India also?
Yeah, of course, India, oil is the first, casualty. See, if our budget caters for oil at $90 or $80, if it is 130, if you pay.
But Indians are smart. They're buying oil at concessional rates from Russia.
Yeah, Kat, the amateurs talk about idealism and other things. I think smart people and countries in real
Yeah, of course.
politics.
And why not so?
Yeah.
They should be, going in because we don't have oil, and we should try and get as much oil at best possible rates. Why not?
I think we can go on and on discussing this, but I think all good things must come to an end. I think it's been an absolute pleasure. And then at MitKat, we are continuing to monitor the situation closely, and all the geopolitical assessments, risks which impact businesses, geopolitical, socio-economic, environmental, technological, regulatory, security, safety risks, and we advise our customers accordingly.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you very much.
And congratulations on your YouTube channel, and it's good, good to
started
see
with-
more and more actual experts coming
So
and
let
not
me
pseudo
let
experts.
me end it. See, what happened is I just gave a small post on LinkedIn the other day, and next day morning I realized that that complete post, whatever I had written, has been used, probably used, or if not used, was in consonance with the military specialist who was in the Euro News. I said, might as well start my own channel to try and spread what I'm thinking.
So always good to collaborate with like-minded people and with the experts, because there are a lot of pseudo experts roaming around. So it's good that the truth prevails,
thank you.
and
Thanks.
people have a right to, I think, know the truth and
Yeah,
to
you're
get
very
an
kind.
expert view.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.